Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies had their 6-game win streak snapped with an NBA Cup loss to the Dallas Mavericks. It was a monumental fourth quarter collapse that saw this winning streak come to an end. I would say it was basically a mental and physical breakdown in the final quarter. The Grizzlies committed an unheard of number of fouls. They committed 15 fourth quarter fouls. The free throw disparity was a talking point after the game. In the fourth quarter, the Mavericks had 23 more free throw attempts than the Grizzlies, but that is not the story of the game, or at least it's not the total story of the game. This was a complete bogged down offensively for the Grizzlies, and for me, that's the number one takeaway. So let's get into it. Let's get into this game. It was, for the most part, a very entertaining game. It was a back-and-forth contest in the first half. In the third quarter, the Grizzlies started making their three-pointers and built up a 15-point lead. They used a 38-22 third quarter to build that lead. You were getting a pick-me-up game from Desmond Bane. Santi Aldama had a very strong game. One of the only bench players who showed up and delivered in a positive way. And this one was Santi, who finished the game 7 for 8 from the field. So he had 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Continued his very good run of play. But then in the fourth quarter, it all started breaking down, and specifically, it really fell apart when they turned it over to the bench. The Grizzlies were up 12 after an Aldama basket, and they'd started cycling out their starters. Ja Morant checks out, Jaren Jackson Jr. checks out, even Brandon Clark checks out, and we've seen this. This has been a typical substitution pattern, and you now put in maybe what you'd call a weaker lineup. You have Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jay Huff and Jalen Wells out there. And the Grizzlies really struggled to get looks at the basket. And beyond the fouls, which again, were preposterous, not saying the refs missed fouls. I haven't seen the foul called on the Grizzlies that was an incorrect call in this fourth quarter. It might be out there. I haven't been able to rewatch this game. I hosted a watch party in Nashville. The game was extremely long. The watch party crowd was faithful. Most of them stuck around, and we had a horrible ending. Just a depressing, horrible ending. But the Grizzlies legitimately committed all of those fouls, as far as I could tell. But the Grizzlies couldn't generate looks at the basket. And so you ran this couple-minute stretch where you had what I would call a not good lineup, and the Mavericks were chipping away at the lead. But you still had the lead by the time you put back in Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. at about the 5-minute mark. Now, could you have brought those guys back in earlier? Of course you could have. We can go back to the minutes discussion. The Grizzlies play their players fewer minutes than everybody else. Jaren Jackson Jr. played 29 minutes. He only played 5 minutes in the third quarter. He absolutely could have played the entire fourth quarter. Normal team, any other team probably would have played Jaren Jackson Jr. the entire fourth quarter. Ja Morant in his career has frequently played entire fourth quarters of close games. Or sometimes he sits out the first minute of the fourth quarter, then plays the final 11 minutes. The Grizzlies do not do this. They played a Scottie Pippen Jr. Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, Jay Huff, Santi Aldama lineup. They couldn't get looks at the basket. And no one in that lineup right there besides Desmond can reliably create his shot. And Desmond has not been shooting the ball very well recently, although Desmond had a fine game. Finished with 19 points. 8 out of 14 from the field. Desmond, I think, created the only good look at the basket the Grizzlies got in the final 9 minutes of the basketball game. He had a pull-up jumper from about 18 feet. It was largely self-created, though. Did the offense do that? I don't know. It seemed largely self-created. He kept his defender on his hip, pulled up for the open jumper. He missed it. He did get the offensive rebound put back with a minute left that sort of stopped the bleeding. But the Grizzlies couldn't generate any good looks at the basket. They were not creating advantages on the offensive end. This is the big question mark with the new offense. We've been praising the new offense as they score lots of points against bad teams. But the reason we needed the new offense, because we've scored lots of points in previous seasons, the reason we needed the new offense is because our half-court offense historically has not been good enough. Coming into this game, statistically, we knew the half-court offense was still below average. In the fourth quarter, the half-court offense could not have been worse. Could not have been worse. They didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. They couldn't get by their defenders. When one guy got past his defender, there was a help defender. There was no one to pass it to. It was horrible looking. But when the starters come back in with 5 minutes left, you're still ahead. Ja Morant makes a miracle three-point shot. It wasn't a miracle three-point shot, but it was a three-point shot that he thought he missed. That was their only basket they made from the 8:36 mark until Desmond Bane got that putback lay-in with 1 minute left. The final staggering numbers for this stretch of the fourth quarter, this is a 7-minute, 35-second stretch of the fourth quarter from about 8:35 until 1 minute left. In that time, the Grizzlies made 1 field goal. They committed 10 fouls. They committed 4 turnovers. They were outscored 22-5. 1 for 11 from the field with 4 turnovers and 10 personal fouls. It's a staggering stretch of incompetence. And there's no one player I would lay the blame on. It was a meltdown, it felt like, collectively. And even among those shots they took in the final 9 minutes, several of them were deep three-pointers that were covered because they couldn't generate any offense. And then the fouling. Again, it felt like a mental breakdown. If you're playing with a lead, you really want to avoid getting in unnecessary foul trouble. And then after they got in foul trouble, after the Mavs got in the bonus early in the quarter, they kept fouling. The final Marcus Smart foul, one of the worst plays imaginable. Marcus Smart had a horrible game. Just really awful. I would say he did make some really good playmaking plays. He hit Brandon Clark on consecutive plays for assists. He got steals, but he missed all 7 of his field goal attempts. We knew the bill was going to come due for Marcus's 7 three-pointer game against the Pistons. But Marcus made so many plays in the fourth quarter where it was just the wrong decision. Maybe you don't blame him. I don't blame him for the out-of-bounds play where he tried to save a Mavs air ball because he thought Santi Aldama blocked the shot. I haven't actually gone back and looked to see if Santi was credited with the block, but he tries to save it. He steps out of bounds. That's bad luck. But the fouls he committed were very harmful. He misses his shots. He also takes a dive near the end of the game where he acted like he got hit in the face. He played referee roulette. Instead of playing defense, he goes down holding his face, leaves the Mavericks wide open for the game-clinching dagger three-pointer. He kept trying to draw fouls. He wasn't getting calls. Then he committed fouls. Just a really, really tough game from Marcus Smart. Now, there is, I think, one call that the Grizzlies got, robbed on. That Jaren Jackson Jr. drive when they were down by 2 and he goes baseline for a reverse layup, 100% a foul on Derek Lively. For the referees to call 15 fouls on the Grizzlies in the fourth quarter and then not call that foul on the Mavericks, who finished the fourth quarter with 3 fouls, stunning. Absolutely, the last 2-minute report is going to say that was a missed call. But when you commit that many fouls, when you turn the basketball over that much, and when you don't score, you leave yourself vulnerable to these comebacks. I mean, the Mavericks made 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. That's another part of it. It was a perfect storm of the Grizzlies doing everything wrong on offense. Meanwhile, the Mavericks make 5 out of 7 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. And again, that stunning free throw number, 18 out of 26 from the foul line. But I'd like to repeat, I haven't seen the incorrect call that the officials made against the Grizzlies when it came to those fouls. All the fouls seemed obvious. Literally, watching this game in public with borderline strangers, the Grizzlies fans at this Grizzlies watch party, everyone was just screaming, "Stop fouling." "What are you doing?" was yelled many times. It was an ugly game, and also it's so disappointing because we'd circled it. We felt like this was an important test. We're blowing out bad teams. How will we look against a good team? And we failed the test. I don't care that they were up by 12 with 7 minutes to go. You failed the test. You lost to Luka Doncic again. Luka Doncic is now 11-2 against the Grizzlies since his rookie season. He's now 7-1 all time against Ja Morant. This was the first time Ja and Luka have faced each other since 2022. You lose to a good team in your division in the NBA Cup. You were still alive in the NBA Cup. Meanwhile, the Mavericks have moved on. If you want to be a wild conspiracy theorist, you're like, oh, the Mavericks with Luka Doncic, NBA star, made it as one of the wild card teams in the NBA Cup after receiving 26 fourth quarter free throws. I see that, Ralph Nader. You could get some traction there, I feel like. But now the Grizzlies on this season, when they're playing teams with winning records, let's say teams with winning records that actually have their best players healthy. So this omits playing the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic. This omits beating the Lakers without Anthony Davis and Rui Hachimura. The Grizzlies are now 2-4 against teams that currently have a winning record. They beat the Magic. They beat the Bucks. Now, the Bucks were well below 500 up until, a week ago. The Bucks now above 500. The Bucks, by the way, the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference for the NBA Cup. But the Grizzlies have beaten the Bucks and the Magic. Those are the only 2 teams that currently have a winning record that were full strength when the Grizzlies played them, that the Grizzlies have beaten. The teams with the winning record they've lost to, they lost to the Rockets on the road, they lost to the Lakers on the road, lost to the Warriors on the road, lost to the Mavericks on the road. Now you can clearly say, well, all those are road games. Yeah, those are hard. So 0-4 in road games against teams with a winning record. Not stunning, but also when we dream of the team being good, when we say, hey, we're 3rd in the West, not anymore, we're 4th, but we were 3rd in the West. We're like, okay, well, how do we stack up against good teams? It hasn't been great so far. Also, there's a clear conference split there. We're 0-4 against Western Conference teams with winning records. Of course, all 4 losses on the road. 2-0 against Eastern Conference teams with a winning record. Both of those wins at home. Also in clutch games now, the Grizzlies are 2-6 if the score is within 5 points in the final 5 minutes. Last episode, I spelled out how a couple of those were false inclusions in the arbitrary clutch game cutoff. I would say if we narrow it down to games that are within 3 points in the final 5 minutes, which may be called super clutch, the Grizzlies are now 1-4 in those situations. For the entire game, the Grizzlies turned the ball over 19 times, which is a lot, but just another night at the office for the Grizzlies. For the season, they averaged 17 turnovers per game, which is 3rd worst in the NBA. Only the Trailblazers and the Jazz turn it over more. As far as the rest of the bench guys who really didn't give you much, I think Luke Kennard was notable with how little he did. He played 7 minutes. He took 1 shot. Felt like he passed up open looks. I feel like this is the Office Space meme. So what exactly do you do here? But barely got any minutes. So Luke Kennard's still here. The J Huff minutes I thought were pretty bad. His fourth quarter was gross. Beyond his inability to guard on the perimeter, which is like, all right, that's asking him too much. But he also missed a rebound that was pretty easy. He just lost it out of bounds. Just contributed to the perfect storm of everything going wrong for the Grizzlies in that fourth quarter. Jake LaRavia, who'd been playing so well, who had paired so nicely with Marcus Smart, he didn't have a very good game. He only played 11 minutes, was 1 out of 4 from the field, missed his only 3-point attempt. As far as good news, I mean, Ja Morant was up to the challenge. Ja Morant had 31 points, made 3 out of 6 3-pointers, although the last one was garbage time. It was kind of a miracle shot. His last 2, I mean, the only 3-pointers the Grizzlies made in the fourth quarter were a Ja Morant 3-pointer where he was certain he missed it because he sprinted after it, and then a wild one in the corner when the game was already over. But Ja had 31 points and 3 steals, 6 out of 7 from the foul line. Only 4 assists, but I feel like that was other people not making shots. The Grizzlies finished 13 out of 40 on 3-pointers, just 32%. Jaren did eventually foul out. I mean, it was bad luck with that challenged play call, the out-of-bounds call that turned into a proximate foul on Jaren. I mean, I understand it. It's the correct call. NBA teams are not used to this proximate foul rule. So many plays now. This was maybe the unintended consequence of these out-of-bound calls being changed or the ability to change them. So many of these calls, you're like, well, there's pushing and grabbing on lots of plays in the final 2 minutes. And then you look at the replay, you're like, yeah, it's out on Derek Lively, but oh yeah, Jaren has him clamped. So bad luck there. I think that was Jaren's 5th foul. I mean, Jaren fouled out, but it was like the final seconds of the game. He didn't really foul out. He could have played much more. Again, 29 minutes for Jaren, 31 minutes for Ja, 31 minutes for Bane, 22 minutes for Brandon Clark, who was good. Once again, 8 points, 6 rebounds. I think I saw a stat that Brandon Clark is leading the NBA in field goal percentage in the paint. So if that stat's true, good job, Brandon. Brandon continues playing well. So a tough loss for the Grizzlies. They will try to rebound on Thursday night against the Kings, and then they play back-to-back over the weekend at the Celtics and at the Wizards. So a couple of other good big tests for the Grizzlies coming up. To close up this shorter episode, I should recognize Jalen Wells. I mean, Jalen played fine in this game. He was tasked with guarding Luka Doncic a lot of the time. Felt like he did pretty good. But Jalen Wells was named Western Conference Rookie of the Month for October and November, meaning essentially he's a leading candidate for Rookie of the Year right now. Jared McCain won the award for the Eastern Conference. Jared McCain's stats are, much bigger as far as his scoring numbers, but the Sixers stink. So, maybe Jalen Wells could be Rookie of the Year if the season ended right now. At the very least, he's a top candidate for Rookie of the Year. So congrats to Jalen for winning that Western Conference Rookie of the Month. And then Cam Spencer. If you didn't see this, Cam Spencer in a Memphis Hustle game made 12 3-pointers, one off the G League record. He scored 51 points. Amazing stuff right there. Looks like the Grizzlies' run of getting great talent and finding contributors in the second round has absolutely continued with those 2 guys. Anyways, if you want to support this program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you join up over there, you can get a monthly bonus episode. You can also join my Slack channel with other Grizzlies fans. All right, hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.